Okay, I guess we can start with you, Haesung.
So for DART, cohort 13 is ready to be submitted. We just have to wait for 8 more people to submit or 9 more people to submit their COIs. And then for thyroid, I think you're saying that we're gonna wait for the spatial analysis, so that's gonna get delayed a bit.
Wait. DART cohort 13
Uh,
is non-epithelial
yes.
ovarian cohort. Yeah. So the COI, I was on the opposite side myself. So, did let's so yeah, keep almost like every 3 days to send out email to the authors who did not fill out, because they are all busy. If you just keep waiting, nothing's gonna happen. So
Yeah, Patricia sent out an email like an hour ago. She's doing a really good job helping us get this through.
okay, great.
Yeah, and then
Oh yeah.
clear. Yeah.
Let's get back to you because I know Minjung's in Korean time, so let's get her.
민정 언니다.
Yeah.
언니.
So Minjung, let's get your update.
I'll be, first of all, long time no see. I'll be sharing the links.
Mhm.
On the chat. The first one is the manuscript. The second one is the supporting material. And I'll be sharing my screen. Okay. So I'll be briefly summarizing what revisions took place. And then I'll ask you, Dr. Che, to have a look. So this is not. So basically, the last feedback that we received was from the journal Cancer. And just summarizing some of the feedback that we received, I think the major point to work on was a clarification of the definitions of HPD, of hyperprogressive disease. I had thought that most clinicians were pretty familiar with the phenomenon, but it seems that they're not. So they even pointed out, like, I don't understand what TGK is, what TGR is from your explanation. I realized that my manuscript was easier for me to read because I had been reading about it for a long time. But for just a clinician who's not familiar with immunotherapy and like some of the novel responses, I realized that this might not be as readable as I thought. And the minor comment was that I should extend the abbreviations. So I wrestled a lot with the revision process because I think this topic itself is still formative and there's controversy and there are just many variations in the methodology of HPD evaluation that it was really hard to find a way to orient the readers in an easy way. So I first wrote down some of the goals that I had for this revision process. And I think the first thing was using the right terms. So like kinetics, dynamics, they use a lot of seemingly interchangeable terms. But I was myself having a lot of confusion. So some of the terms like acceleration, kinetics versus dynamics, and some people describe the models of growth as exponential versus linear in double quotations. And I didn't know why they were doing that. And apparently it's because it's not linear mathematically. So I spent a lot of time just looking at research papers on tumor growth modeling and math, see how they describe it, because I thought that it was important for me to understand what are the right terms. And then secondly, I knew that I had to better orient the readers to the current problem in conducting a cohesive quantitative synthesis of the HPD incidents, which, as I explained previously, has to do with the methodology. And thirdly, a better introduction to the definitions that currently exist. And then a better explanation of the post hoc revisions that we had to make in the exclusion criteria to make this a better quantitative analysis. And lastly, I felt the need to increase the discussion on the various, here it's called operationalizations, but it's basically the different ways in which HPD evaluations are carried out. So
I've never seen operationalization.
Yeah, so this was a term that I actually found from reading other meta-analyses on topics that were kind of ambiguous and formative, like HPD. And they talk about, oh my gosh, there are so many methods. How do we, sort this out? And this term was something that they used. And one of the authors defined it in a really simple way, that it refers to all the aspects of the method in which the evaluation takes place. So I use this term in the manuscript, in the revised version. And if you think that it's not really appropriate, then I can definitely take it out. And then the to-do list that I have before making the submission to the next journal is obtaining permission for the reuse of the figure from the cost paper. So that paper didn't provide any of the math behind how they modeled the graph. But still, when I looked into it, it seems that if it somehow if my paper references that figure, then it's safe for me to receive permissions for reuse. So I've been in the process of obtaining permissions. So now I'll stop sharing the screen and first, Dr. Che, if you could open the second link, which is the
second one, okay.
Which is the supporting information.
Well,
so the only section that we need to look at here is on page 4. If you could scroll down to page 4 of the document. Is the scroll not working, Dr. Shea, or?
Yeah.
So it's yeah, that section.
This one, okay.
And that's where I now added how the math was done, to basically recapitulate the graph from the cost paper. And it's basically the typed version of the equations that I presented on before.
Tumor growth kinetics as the change in the sum of diameters per unit time. So this is really like a linear definition. And the ratio is the ratio substituting this. Oh, so this is how we got y in this graph. Is this
right? So I did that for all 3 definitions that we used in the manuscript.
So where is the graph actually? Not here in the manuscript?
Oh, the graph is, let's see. I actually have to submit the figures separately, so I don't have it
Oh.
in here. But I can paste it in right now.
Oh, okay. Where are you gonna paste it here so we can see it?
I'll paste it right now, sorry.
Okay. It's one of the main figures, right?
It's figure 4.
Okay. So I think at one point we went through all this together. I remember this.
Right.
But it's interesting that the reviewers really want to understand the whole equation. For those of you here, Seyoung or Chaha and everyone who likes math and want to understand tumor kinetics, this is a very easy, if you follow, this is not hard. This is, you guys, if you graduated high school level math class, you can understand all this. And did you put it?
I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So the idea is, if you give immunotherapy, does the tumor grow fast? And how do you know it grows fast? Only by analyzing the speed of growth before immunotherapy and now the speed of growth during immunotherapy. And how do you define that? Can you define the speed by just the diameter, or do you want to define it by the volume? And of course, you divide by the time it was used. So you calculate the kinetics change, but everyone used different equations. So can you visualize the difference of kinetics through a graph? And in our own CT scans, what definitions would we use? And would using different definitions change the prevalence or the incidence of hyperprogression in our lung cancer patients receiving immunotherapy? So that's what Minjung looked at. And she looked at all the previous published papers and analyzed them using different definitions. But the author really wanted to understand what are the differences mathematically between the equations. Did you find it, Minjung?
I pasted it on the first page of the manuscript.
The actual manuscript?
Just the very first page.
Okay, this one. So explain what is ABC.
Sorry, the legends are in the back, but basically A is the graphical representation of the definition by Champion et al. And B is the representation of the Sada-Bouzid definition, which is the TGK ratio. A is the TGR ratio, and C is the absolute difference in the TGR greater than 50% by Ferrara et al. So basically, the cost paper didn't make a mention of the area that I shaded here in orange called D. And it constitutes a very small area of the entire graph. But based on the studies in our meta-analysis that looked at multiple definitions, I think that HPD might be characterized more by that area than we would expect from the graph, if that makes sense. I think that's the easiest way to put it. Because if we look at, so basically the area above each line constitutes hyperprogressive disease. And if you look at D, there's a cross between the equations A and C. And that's the portion basically where definition C underestimates hyperprogressive disease compared to A.
Right.
Whereas in the rest of the graph, it's the other way around. But when we look at the studies that were included in our meta-analysis that looked at multiple definitions, were 2 papers where this opposite relationship corresponding to the area D was true. And this area basically is partly the result of the limitations of RESIST, because it corresponds to an area where progression is defined not as a 20% increase in the tumor burden, but RESIST defines progression in 2 ways. One, a 20% increase in the sum of the target lesions diameters, or just the appearance of new lesions. And basically D represents the portion where you did have an increase in the growth rate of the tumor, but not a sufficient increase in the tumor lesion size to be considered like a 20% increase, if that makes sense. And I think it relates to the fact that hyperprogressive disease is often related to metastasis as a clinical factor. And the Zhao paper that you shared with us recently by email on the mechanism of HPD, if you do you remember that in that paper, basically the hypothesis that they present is that it basically enhances the pathway that leads to tumor stemness and invasiveness, which is related to metastases. And so I think it's an important qualitative aspect to like touch on in our paper. I tried to explain it clearly, but I don't know if I did it properly. So you can check it in the manuscript.
Okay. Yeah, I think what you said is all true and worth mentioning. Anyway, anything so
now
yeah, so all the equations are here describing the graph and how it came to be. And then
this was just basically a narrative synthesis of biological factors. The rest of the supporting information section is the same.
Okay. You want me to look at the actual paper?
So from from there, main text, all the colored highlights, the green and blue are entirely newly written. So
okay.
It's the part where I try to better explain the definitions and orient the readers. So I would appreciate it if you could take a look at
So what do you mean by a scholar?
Right, so that's a physics term. So oftentimes they use the word acceleration to describe hyperprogressive disease. But acceleration, it's a tricky term because it's both scalar, it's used in the scalar and vector context. So HPD evaluation as of now doesn't have to do anything with the direction of the tumor growth. It only has to do with the actual changes in the magnitude. And so scalar is basically a word to describe that. that makes sense.
Scalar is a physics term, quantity with magnitude and no direction.
Right, right.
So what do you mean by direction here? Because it's not shrinking, it's growing. So
Right.
that's one direction.
I think the reason why we don't basically have to care about direction is because resist is a unidimensional measurement. But then nowadays, when they measure the tumor burden, it's volumetric and by CT. So they also, when they describe the kinetics of growth, they also talk about basically the directional changes as well, depending on the surrounding tumor microenvironment. But our current definitions of HPD don't concern directions. And that's why I use the word scalar. But if that just introduces confusion, I'll take that word out.
A scalar comparison of changes in the longitude. I think it's a neutral word. I think it's okay. I mean, yeah. Metrics proposed. Uni, bidimensional as well as volume. EGK unidimensional based on resist. EGR roughly spherical, follows exponential growth. Those are the assumptions. The progression pace measures bidimensional, which is reflected in RC. I like it. I think it makes sense and it's easy to understand.
And in that section, I elaborated more on previous meta-analyses that have been done. The nice thing about Cancer Medicine, which is the journal we will be submitting to, is that their word limit is 5,000. So I could be more thorough in the orientation.
So, I don't know if I like this format where you could say comma first to evaluate, comma second to.
I'll take that up then.
Yeah, because it's not like a bullet point or yeah. Describe and evaluate the current evidence across variable definitions, integrating pretreatment tumor growth kinetics, and to investigate whether the type of definition or tumor type are potential moderators of it. You like the word moderator?
I think it's a term that's used often for in statistics. But if you don't like the word, I'll find another term.
Because clinicians' point of view, it's not often used.
I think that's more important.
Yeah.
I'll change it.
What would be a better clinical word for this?
Instead of using that term, we can just write it out as investigate whether the type of definition or tumor type are associated with variations in the incidence.
Yeah, I like that better. Sounds less mathematical.
Sorry,
More
it's
clinical.
it's because yeah, I've been reading too many. It's my fault. You should just tell me if anything is too wordy.
Okay. Pragmatic decision to only include studies which HPD was defined by and evaluate in a method consistent with one of the following that's 3 seminal studies and their respective definitions. Not eligible if, were revised to mitigate the methodological heterogeneity arising from various operationalization of HPD evaluation, enhancing the So explaining why we made our own cutoff to, such that the changes in the tumor burden. So that graph, where figure 1, was that figure 1?
I think it's figure 4.
Oh,
and it's on the
where?
first page of the manuscript now, but I have it as a separate PDF file.
Right. But where did you explain that in the manuscript?
The part that I explained to you verbally. It's in the discussion section.
Oh, okay. I just want to find that part.
I think it's
figure 4 here.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Area D.
I haven't revised this section yet, but one of the reviewers said that it was a little bit difficult for it a little bit difficult to understand. So I think I'm gonna to break it down even further.
Here's what I do. Before you get to discussion, I think if you really want readers to understand the kinetics, it has to all be done in methods. So in the method, you have to explain the figure 4 here.
I did explain in a couple sentences. Let's see.
Uh-huh.
But I guess it's
But
that was the portion that you just read on page 11,
mhm.
but I'll expand on it then.
Yeah. Maybe put page numbers here in the bottom of each page. I know I can see it in the scroller, but my point is don't make it figure 4, make it figure 1, or so that when people read method, they would look at figure 4 and understand. And it's that to understand the graph, you should the mathematical presentation of each graph is in supplemental. You just direct them to read that first, understand the figure first, and then you can describe the implications of that figure in clinical practice in the discussion. Okay, so explain the figure in method first, the equations and all that. So it will change the figure numbers altogether. And then discussion. Mm. Mm.
I think that's the last change.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
Oh, actually, that figure legend has been changed.
This one? Oh.
Figure 4.
Mm. Even for this, you can put the reference number here so they can go find in the reference. Well, I guess figure 1 is still the flow diagram. This comes first. And then maybe in the method, you can put figure 4 as figure 2, right? Because figure 1 and 2 are still methods. And then 2 becomes 3 and 3 becomes 4. Okay, good. Yeah, I think you've done great job. This is a lot of reading. I mean, it's something that we know, but I think what you did is to really make it more presentable to the readers. And I feel like this is the same thing. I think Juhi has a problem with multi-cancer detection being not that, it's a controversial topic too. Is that a really like applicable thing? Same thing, hyperprogression. Like I told you, I'm surprised that many immunologists don't believe in this phenomenon. But there are more papers coming out, right? Preclinical papers, not just clinical papers. Clinicians all believe in this phenomenon because we see it in our clinic. Even like physicians in South Korea I talked to, they like, oh yeah, we see it all the time in clinic. There's no doubt It is those who see less number of patients. It is those who are more laboratory scientists. They doubt. And that is why this is not easy to I guess get more audience to agree on or understand it better. But I like I said, our conviction is that by really understanding this phenomena better, we need a good consensus. What is the best definition? And what is the real instance? Only then we'll be able to tackle this phenomenon better. And the next question is, what should we do? So if we find the right population, I mean, we're kind of defining in a retrospective manner here, right? So our next step is, how do you prospectively predict who's going to have this phenomenon? And if you do, then what should we do differently? And our simple answer is add chemo. Add chemo if you can. So, but chemo has side effects. So the simple answer based on the 9LA clinical trial is just 2 cycles of carbotaxol. If you add to nivo-ipi, that would be the solution. Just 2 cycles. So we always want to think ahead. You know, it's good, but you know, we don't stop here. What do we need to do next? And you know, Minjung, when you come to the lab, the next few steps could be, you know, looking at studies where, so there's now 2 studies, which is 9LA, and there's a study called Poseidon. Poseidon is durva-tremi, and you add chemotherapy. And chemotherapy, they added 4 cycles here, not 2 cycles. But durva-tremi is interesting because nivo-ipi is continual therapy in 9LA, but in Poseidon, durva-tremi is different. Tremi is like ipi, it's given only 5 cycles. Durva is given until progression. But basically both are similar approach. And we can look at both trials and compare to its counterpart, which is just nivo-ipi or durva-tremi without the chemo portion, and see what is the difference between those two in terms of hyperprogression prevention. We can mathematically show the difference. And that might be a natural next step after you join our lab. Because we want to be practical and say, and then some people are going to have negative side effects from chemo. So it's a fine balance. If they're not going to have hyperprogression, then we don't want to give chemo. If they are likely to have hyperprogression, then let's add chemo at least 2 to 4 cycles. And who makes that algorithm? Us, physicians. How do you make that algorithm? By analyzing the data and showing people the evidence. If there is a need, then we have to design that clinical trial. So let's keep that in mind, but I think you're almost there. And yeah, I think you're good to go. Anything else, Minjung?
I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, great. So once you switch it, you don't have to wait for me, and I think you can use the JLab meeting account to submit. All right, very good, Minjung. Thank you. All right, Dr. Jiyeon is here. She's also from Korea. Jiyeon, Dr. Jiyeon.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I was about to sleep. Sorry.
Okay.
Today I have only a couple of things to tell you. Well, the third article regarding double lung transplantation, it is still under revision. I mean, under review. I submitted a revised version, but still is in review, so we'll check. And the second, liquid biopsy, which was written by, well, I forget the authors, but it was submitted to the Halion. It is still
Oh, Andrew
in
Davis.
under
Andrew
review. Oh
Davis.
yeah, Andrew. Yeah, exactly. It is still under review. It takes
Under
time.
review by Kellyanne.
Yeah. And as far as I know, the hyperprogression article, it was rejected, and I think it was transferred to other journal.
So who submitted that?
Arnie.
Arnie?
Yeah, Arnie is still joining.
Okay.
And my main project is now RadioMix. I'm still waiting Professor Yuri's analysis, but I think it is still too busy to analyze. And today I want to show you abstract for AACR.
Okay.
The deadline is November 16, something like that. We have still time, but honestly, I want to submit it earlier than deadline because I want to make Monica's research history. She did a lot, but she doesn't have any abstracts or, well, it was a very unlucky time. Just it was the time problem. So if I can submit, well, I can revise later, of course, but maybe she can use it for her application. So I just want to confirm this abstract.
Okay.
So these are my recommended titles. You can read it. Can you choose?
Predicting the mixed response of immunotherapy in non-small cell lung cancer using radiomic features. Radiomic features of intrathoracic lesions can predict mixed response of immunotherapy.
Since the result with a mixed response, especially definition A was pretty good, I wanted to focus on the mixed response. So, yeah, in manuscript it is different, but here it is just an abstract and.
Right. And it's just pure radiomics, not AI, right? Here is just.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We used only 127 patients.
So I like the second one better, but I don't like the mixed response in,
all right.
let's say, in non-small cell lung cancer treated with immunotherapy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
And this is abstract.
127. Definition A and B. Okay. The results.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Eh, mhm.
There's something you want to add?
So one comment is that, I mean, we wrote the title because the mixed response prediction is novel and was
Mm-hmm.
statistically significantly associated here, but it's the one last line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything
Okay.
else is something different, right?
Yeah.
So uh what about in the mixed response? Because remember we I guess like in people with stable disease,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a mixed response group and non-mixed response group, and people with progressive disease, and then you have mixed and non-mixed, and then how their prognosis were different. We were going to write all that in the manuscript, right?
Yes.
But I guess here we don't have the time and space here.
Uh, yes, I just wanted to focus on radio mix,
Yeah.
that clinical outcomes. Well, finally, we got this sensitivity and specificity, so I wanted to emphasize those things. This abstract.
Hmm. So remind me with
Mhm.
this 127 patient, just the response prediction we sent to Sissy? Did we send which one was the one we sent to Sissy? San Diego one.
As you see, um, it was 134 patients,
Okay.
and it was a very simple analysis. And at that moment, we didn't have the research of mixed response. We didn't have any concept.
What about sensitivity specificity? Did we?
No, we didn't have. I couldn't
Mhm.
describe. There was only, you remember, all the radiomic words and technical terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, we got it accepted, right?
Yes, and the problem is I have to make poster with that.
Uh,
Yeah, that is the problem. So, yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah,
So
I got
I
it.
feel like still in AACR we can make two abstracts here. One
Well,
is one is because we have 127 with now sensitivity specificity.
mhm,
So without just the last sentence,
Okay.
you can just say, what are the clinical and radiomics features that were associated with durable response, right? Because we have platelets here too. Because
Yeah.
we looked at not only radiomic features, we looked at other features too. And
Oh, Dr. Shep,
uh-huh. 윤호야, 안녕.
sorry, emergency.
윤호가 아직 못 자고 있었구나. 빨리 자야
아,
돼.
자다가 깨가지고.
아이고야.
다시 할 거야? 엄마 여기 있어. 아, yeah. It's gone. Sorry. Well, I'm still waiting the research regarding pneumonitis. Because that was our second abstract.
Right. I think
Here's the cup. You know?
yeah. So what I'm suggesting is everything written before that red sentence is of itself another, durable response predictors. And that could be because platelet is not radiomic, so it's good. We looked at other factors, clinical. So clinical and radiomics features that is associated with durable response. That comprehensive analysis itself, I think, is this abstract. And I think what you need to do is just write a separate abstract, just go in depth with the mixed response. How many patients belong to the mixed response definition by each definition, right? They're different. Incidence of mixed response in itself is interesting. So A and what is the incidence and what are their prognosis difference? Just having mixed or not. And then without the prediction, what is the prognosis difference? And with that prediction, what is the prognostic difference? And that has to be different by PD group and SD group and all that. Describe it, not only the AUC, but also all that subgroup analysis. Is going to be of in itself, just like mixed response paper.
All right.
Yeah, because it's two different things here. So I think you can with pneumonitis, you can make 3 different posters, abstracts.
For AACR?
Yeah, for AACR. Well, you can get maybe one could be online only, whatever that is, you can still make that, make that 3 submissions.
Okay. I will split as 2 abstracts with this, and I will wait Professor Yuri's research.
Yeah, just follow up with Yuri after Yuri.
Yeah. Seyoung, can you check it later? Maybe you can visit him or ask him.
Yeah,
I know he will be busy, but
yeah, just keep going. Be like Peter.
Yeah, sometimes we need to push him. Because I waited it almost 3 months.
And Taeyong, you should just go and sit down next to him and learn, and maybe
Yeah, just like Peter did.
Yeah. Just say you're the second Peter.
Second Peter, okay. Okay, thank you. So that is all I have today.
All right, good. Did you hear back from Predison?
Well, we have a plan to send them additional samples. So now we're collecting, but it should be severe. So it takes time,
Mm.
but we are still in collecting samples, and we're gonna send it. And as far as I know, they are doing tissue exam, but I
Yeah.
didn't get.
So maybe once a week to CC
Mhm.
me and
Okay.
ask them update and about, like they said they'll do methylation and they're gonna
Okay.
see if they can run the tissue
Mhm.
again. So
Mhm.
you just ask like, what is your plan? Can you update us where you are and all that? And then with tissue, do you think we'll get more tissue to send to Lunit? What do you think?
To learn it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we can, but first we have to get the partisan result. I mean, answers whether it was available or not,
Mm.
because they told us that they're gonna do again. We're
Okay.
still waiting. Second.
Because it's been a long time now. So
Yes, yes.
we need an answer. What
Mhm.
to do?
Yeah,
So yeah, let's follow
yeah.
up
Okay.
and then please follow up with Arnie. I think she has the account. Arnie needs to check it on weekly basis, where it is and yeah, the
Okay.
paper.
I mean, hyperprogression article.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Every week I check, and she
Okay.
knows the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's also taking a lot of time.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we have all
Right.
the updates. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jan.
I
Have a
have
good
to take care of
day.
my little boy. Bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Okay, we have Alan from Korea also.
Hello.
We have to let them go to
Uh,
sleep.
yeah. Hi everyone. I don't think there's really too much to update right now, but currently I have all of the structure written down for the Veristrat stuff, and
Uh,
because Taeyu had his step exam on the weekend,
was-
I couldn't really talk to him much about everything.
oh, he had what exam? He had steps 3?
Step one, step
Step
one.
1. Oh, he's
Yeah.
starting, right?
Yeah, so he said he'll contact we're gonna talk with tomorrow in the morning in Korea time,
Uh-huh.
along with Dr. Iser,
Uh-huh.
about the whole project, because when I was trying to write the structure about everything,
Mhm.
there's some information that I still need to get from them in order to kind of do it, because I looked at the previous recordings and Taegu had talked about subgroup analysis stuff, and
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure about how we're gonna go about that right now. So I just need to confirm with him and then start writing about that subgroup stuff.
Mm.
I think understanding that part will be simple because I know how the project's going. It's just I don't know what subgroups that we're gonna be looking at.
Mm.
And then I was trying to figure out how to do sort of the cohort. I guess this is kind of the subgroup analysis, but on the previous meeting, you had mentioned that about the toxicity group within the Veristrat.
Mm.
Maybe if I just show you the screen, it might be a bit easier. This one.
Are you sharing screen?
Yeah, I'll share that.
Uh,
Can you see it?
Yeah.
The Word document. So looking at what you had mentioned before, you had said that because we're looking at survival and then the toxicity group. So the survival group, I understood from what Tig had written, it was always just going to be the non-small cell lung cancer immunotherapy and palliative treatment group. And then for the toxicity, it started to get confusing here, but I'm not exactly sure how he had written it down. But from what I understood, it was that you wanted to see how many patients were in each treatment group. So the palliative, the adjuvant, neoadjuvant,
Mm-hmm.
concurrent. And then you had also mentioned there's going to be some people who have the like the change in the treatment regimen. So
Right.
right. But from the data that we have, we actually didn't record whether or not they had a change in the regimen. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask, is whether or not we should have been recording that kind of information.
No, so my answer to that is maybe there's no one overlapping. Maybe there is some. We don't know unless we check. So why don't you check if the same patient belongs to, you know, two different groups? If they don't, then we didn't double count it. We probably went by the longer treatment or something. I don't know what happened. But ideally they should be double counted. Let's say someone who received adjuvant or neoadjuvant immunotherapy, and a year later, that patient relapsed as stage 4. And they
Yes.
receive immunotherapy there, like a nivo-ipi. So one patient can have different staging at different time, right?
Right.
And during those different staging, they could have had different immunotherapy like durva or
Right.
atezo at stage 3, and then stage 4 they might have had nivo-ipi. That's what I usually do in clinic.
Hmm.
So for, let's say, if we do neoadjuvant study, they should be counted for stage 3. If we do stage 4 only study, they should be counted at stage 4 study.
Right.
If we're doing toxicity study, then they should be counted as that's a little bit tricky, but for toxicity study, if they have received enough immunotherapy at each stage, they should be counted as a different cases.
Right.
I
You had meant, yeah.
but
Yeah.
the point here is for outcome, we're gonna restrict to stage 4 only. When I say outcome, is like survival outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Toxicity outcome, we should include stage 3, 2 who received immunotherapy, because we don't care about the survival for that toxicity analysis. So that was the whole point.
Okay. Right. Okay, I understood up to that part. I think it was just because, like you had mentioned, same thing as you had mentioned previously. You had said that if a patient had changed the regimen, and then yeah, you should count it as two different cases within the data recording.
Mhm.
I think I was just wondering whether or not uh,
Oh,
whether yeah.
screen the whole patient? No. Like just double check on the people who have like overlapping
Overlapping treatment.
yeah, or two different staging in one same patient or something.
Okay. Okay. We'll have to try figuring that out. And then there was also another thing that so yeah, these would have been the other question, but some of the kind of continuing on from the previous question. So some patients would have gone one treatment and then they would have progressed and then got the second treatment and then developed a side effect. Is this kind of what you mean by we consider it as two cases by any chance, or as in that we put one data point as from the start of the first immunotherapy to the side effect, and then the second treatment to the side effect, or is that just completely wrong? To calculate the time to toxicity, I guess, for the toxicity group.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Usually this doesn't, well, there could be different immunotherapy. So our assumption is the side effect is the cause from regimen number 2, not number 1,
The most recent one.
right? If the
Okay.
regimen 1 was given for staging 2, if
Mhm.
regimen 2 was given for newly diagnosed stage 4 relapse,
Mm-hmm.
then the stage 2 case had no side effects, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're not recording side effect as regimen 1 side effect, but rather it's regimen 2 side effect.
Okay. Okay, so just consider the most recent regimen. Consider it as the side effect from the most recent treatment regimen. And then also, I think there were some patients like this where they had started one treatment, developed a side effect, and then I think they might have switched the treatment and then developed a different side effect as well. In this scenario, is it where I would need to consider this as two different data points, or no?
So 2 different data point, so cannot happen within the same staging. So regimen 1 and regimen 2 has to be given for different indication, different
Yes.
staging indication.
Yeah,
If
yes.
this regimen 1 and 2
Okay.
were happening because of the same stage 4
Mm-hmm.
situation, and you're just changing regimen because the drug is not working,
Mm-hmm.
it's still one case.
Okay. Okay. Okay, ultimately you're saying that it's not really so much the regimen that matters at this stage, sort of that the fact, because it's within the same, if it switches stages, then it will be different data point. But if it's
Right.
the same stage but changed treatment, it would still be considered as one case. Then.
Right.
Is that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think that's kind of really the only question I have right now. I have other questions, but I think either Taegu or Dr. Isa will be able to answer those.
Okay.
I think, yeah, these would have been the most important ones right now.
Yeah.
Right.
These are good questions. These are very practical and clinical analysis. See, there's no right or wrong answer. We are just using our best clinical knowledge or wisdom to tackle these. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I think, and then next week we'll be able to give you a better update about the whole state of the paper, because yeah, I also had some like application stuff I had to worry about that I kind of finished today, so I'll also have a lot more time. So yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So Ellen, remind me, this is what project are you being involved now?
Right now, I would just be the Veristrat paper and then the PIR paper,
Okay.
but the Veristrat one is the one that me, Dr. Easel, and Taegu would be focusing on first.
Okay.
And then the PIR paper would be coming after that.
Okay.
And I think that's because Dr. Easer might still not have found her data related to the PIR paper.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's being pushed back a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think after that, if there's some stuff that I can do, I can probably think about doing it then. So yeah.
Okay. And the mixed response paper is written
Mixed response. It was passed on to me, but I didn't actually really touch anything about it because I didn't really have much time to put in towards that. But looking at the previous recording, it was just that Taegu had done the most recent draft about the mixed response, and I kind of passed it also along to Liam, but
yeah.
it's kind of at a stalled point right now.
Yeah. So my expectation is Taegu and Liam will carry it forward, and you can always feel free to help them if there's, time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Very
Yeah.
good.
That will just be my update for today.
Okay. Great, Alan.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Great to see you, and then hope to continue to see you and get your update on weekly basis.
Okay, yeah, no
All
problem.
right. Thanks.
Mhm. Right.
All right. Thank you. So we'll come back to Haesung because we're done with people in Korea.
Yeah, so I was just saying that for Dart,
Uh,
I'm still in the process of updating Clear Cell cohort, the cohort 46, 45, 42. And then the BAC, I sent it to you, but it was like during the conference at Singapore, so I'm sure you didn't have time. So
yeah, let's look at it one last time together. If you can print out the last version, let's just
sure.
review it after this.
Yeah, I just need your final okay, and then we can send it to Dr. Kurzrock and Megan for final review, and then it can go into circulation.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the protocol, it's been updated by the LUNET team. But they wanna meet with us sometime. They were actually aiming for this week, but yeah, not sure where it's going. I CC'd Susie, so we're trying to find a time to discuss. They wanted to talk about irises and then exploratory biomarkers except to stats and then fresh tissue biopsy for inclusion. And according to their calculation, they need 101 patients with IS greater than 20. And then Dr. Chen from Northwestern, the statistician, he also brought up, you remember how like our null hypothesis is IOOR less than 5, and then alternative is greater than 25. He
Mm-hmm.
says that it can't be that way. It has to, if we want two different numbers, then we'll have to set up like two different hypotheses. Like, either greater than or less than 5, and a greater than or less than 25. But it can't be like two different numbers within like the same, I guess, like framework. Same like he sent us an email so we can discuss that. Do you get what I mean? Like it has to be separate, like two different hypotheses. And I did send him the S1609 protocol, even though we did it that way in that protocol. He says that's not statistically like it just doesn't make sense to him. Yeah.
I see. Let's see what I guess there are statisticians in LUNIT, in NCI, and SWOG, and our Northwestern. I mean, they all had their different training background, and there are different theories and all that. So, but I think his opinion matters because it will be housed under NU, the trial. So he has to agree. Yeah. It's not like he's a consultant. He's like he has to be the main. So I don't know. Maybe we will have to. I think Lunit person. I mean, I don't mind if it's less than. I want this to be a trial. If it goes well, that FDA may consider this as a registration study. Meaning a drug approval can occur or the companion diagnostic approval can occur based on the trial. So FDA has to review this too. Yeah, I'm actually open to whatever suggestion, but I want Lunit statistician and our NU statistician to come to an agreement.
The LUNET team didn't really mention that part. I think they were okay with it. I think for us to go forward, it's my very humble opinion, but I think the 25% one makes sense. Like either if it's less than 25, then it's null. If it's greater than 25, then that shows efficacy. Okay, that's mainly like Dr. Chen's opinion.
So why don't you do this? Why don't you ask Lunit's statistician? This is a opinion we got from our NU statisticians. Do you but then also provide background and information that it was actually a valid statistical rationale from prior DART and match study. What is your stance on this? And we want to have it like a learning experience for us too. Like I don't know the statistical rationale for having two different cutoff. Clinically it makes more sense, but the statistics that we learned from high school, we makes sense to have one cutoff. But I'm not the expert, so let's ask Lunit team.
Yeah, I think they want to talk about many things, so I'll just wait for Susie to help us set up a meeting, and then we can all like talk about it. Because I'm not directly talking with the statistician, I'm talking with the coordinator.
Yeah,
And her
yeah.
name is Melody.
So
I'll just wait for that.
we will have that discussion, but I want them to prep for it. So still write it out. We want to talk about this topic, and the reason we want to talk about it is this and this. I want your statistician to come and be present during the meeting, because that person might not show up.
Sure.
So we just want them to know what we're thinking and prep for the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. We're almost there, but
the next one is the Regeneron Semi-Fion 2 too high. It's the last two.
yeah.
And then for that, I prepared a one-page IIT proposal. I'll just share it.
You can share it.
Yeah. Easy. And then as we discussed in the conference, I went with the 1600 milligrams. Yeah, here we said no, it's 10% and alternative is 25.
Right. And that number came from where?
Came from Lunit when they first proposed their last trial.
Okay, they use 10% here. Okay. Is that so 25% response rate?
Yeah, this is research, like
Then
non-immunotherapy basis.
okay.
OOR.
Okay. It's not iRECIST, it's RECIST here, or both?
No, it's here. We actually didn't really discuss.
Here you said IORR here, or right?
That's a secondary objective. So primary, we
primary
kept it as OOR.
okay.
So it was the Akeso team that wanted the IOOR due to the possibility of like hyperprogression, not accounting for that.
I see.
I think it's just like drug specific because maybe they had some experience with that, but Fion and Semi maybe not as much. And then you mentioned maybe just talk about the budget, but I just had no clue. just left it as the way it is.
Yeah. That is fine.
Okay.
Because they're paying
And-
for it. They are going to come up with the budget.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not paying
But
any.
ultimately, yeah, it's gonna be around 100. We're hoping for 100, but we're gonna recruit 400.
Yeah. Looks good. I think we can submit it.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if this is too like detailed. I put like in parentheses stored for future use. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Another. Okay. All right.
Yeah. But we're not asking funding for that now, but if this gets approved, we might just submit another. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It has to be, the trial has to be supported first and then get the translational funding. Yeah,
Right.
sounds good.
Okay, so for Dr. Liesel contacted Dr. Alexia regarding like getting more slides, and then he did reply. He says like, so what do you exactly want? And then Dr. Liesel replied, not I don't think he has gotten back to us, so I'm not sure about the status, so I'll follow up on that. Liam, have you heard anything from Dr. Liesel? Okay.
No.
Yeah, just let Dr. Iser. Yeah, just follow up with her. I think. Yeah, we're a little bit in a limbo, but I don't think he's saying no for now. Like, I think he'll somehow do it, but we need time. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's wait another week for him to respond and.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for Tempest Tap, I'll be meeting Sarah next week, next Friday. And then we'll do some Python training, and then we'll talk about how we'll get the raw data.
So TAP is the
Tap is the ITH using Pan Institution Tempest data.
right, and the what? So they want to train you first, then give you data? Is that the
I guess so. I think it took some time because the background check thing got delayed, and maybe other logistical things, but yeah, I'll clarify that next week once we meet.
okay? Yeah, because
And
we
then
need clear time point. Like when are we getting the data and if we get the data, I think we should be able to run the PyClone, which we need help from Stas, right?
yeah.
Have you talked with him like about how to run it?
Yeah, we're gonna try to find a time. He's busy, I'm also. But yeah, as soon as I think I need some introduction to Python first of all, so we'll do that next week, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, it's gonna be difficult. Yeah, he. I think he's still at Stanford doing his rotation, but yeah.
Yeah.
But for the Northwestern data ITH, he calculated the ITH scores for 58 patients, but one of them had too few mutations. This was using the radiomics data set. After
Yeah.
we updated everything, like cleaned up the clinical data, it ended up being 205 patients. And among them, 58 patients had DNA and CNV data. One had too few mutations, so we only used 57 patients' data to calculate the ITH. And among them, 36 had RNA data.
RNA data. Okay.
Yeah. Would you like to see how it looks like?
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully when Minjung comes, you both can work on PyClone.
Yeah, I would definitely need some help. It also takes a lot of time. All right, so These are the patients, and then
Is
that's
it-
the ITH.
These
Huh?
are all our own Tempest patients, right?
So these are the radiomics patients, and
Yeah.
among them, 57 had, DNA and CMV data.
57. Okay.
But for some of them, we weren't able to calculate any scores. And then so some patients have one value, some patients have like 3 values, and it's because he separated these in different times. You know how he does it, like he does it in like 3 different time points. So we're trying to not. I guess we'll first compare like the first time points, and
Okay.
then maybe calculate how the second data, like how much it changes from the first one, and then correlate that with like response and progression, something like that.
Why
Like this
does
one is really weird, like 2, 3, 0.
yeah,
Sorry,
some
yeah.
are 3 values, some are 2 values, and
Right.
maybe you should ask him why he did that way, you know?
He
If
usually does this. Like he runs the Pyclone in 3 different time points.
yeah, I know
And
that,
then
but why does he report 3, 2, and 1 for each?
yeah, didn't in his previous like research, didn't he just like average them out? Isn't that how he did it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I asked him as well. Didn't he usually average it? And then now, I think now he wants to see maybe like how this change in first and second or maybe third time points like correlate, how that correlates with response progression. But I feel like that doesn't make sense because this is just a random error.
Right. So more you do, the better. Like to reduce the random error. If he does it 10 times and average it out, it's better. But I don't think there's time to run it 10 times because it takes a long time. The CPU, the actual absolute time required to get the numbers. So I think I don't know what he did. I can't speak for him. So we need to ask him what's he thinking. And we have to come up with a consensus. If we're gonna run it 3 times, we have to average that number, and then that is the most logical way to do it. If he only ran it 1 time, then we just have to do the first number, to be fair. So yeah. And the question is, because we have outcome for like OS, PFS, see if the ITH number, whether it's an average or the very first number, whether it correlates with survival. So that is something you can do easily. And then the radiomics heterogeneity score, like the radiomics, remember in the radiomics, we have Dr. Cheon has the predictability of mixed response, right? So if the ITH is higher, is it going to be associated with mixed response? ITH being higher means there are different clones. If you have highly heterogeneous tumor at genomic level, are you going to have radiographically different tumors responding differently? No one knows. No one actually has looked at this, association. So those are the things that we need to tap into, which you can work with Stas and Dr. Cheon, and update us on what you find. Okay.
And then for the cutoff, should it like previously, should we try like median and then, but I feel like for the sample size is kind of small, like it's 49, so it's kind of not
Gonna be challenging.
challenging, yeah, like top 1/3, middle 1/3.
So do
the bottom
everything
one.
you can. Yeah, leave it up to you. You know, do absolute cutoff or top 1/3 versus low 1/3. Just do it different ways and see if it makes sense at all. Yeah. Or you could just say 1 clone, 2 clone, 3 clone. Just cut off whatever makes logical sense. You know, like category of 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 plus. You know, do it whatever makes sense to you, and yeah, it's still exploratory. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we, yeah. Only wish we had more numbers, but yeah. Okay. Anything
And
else?
then just want to remind you for Keras ITH, Tom got back to us a couple days ago, weeks ago. He says it's gonna take some time to give us updates. So we're gonna still wait for that. And yeah,
Okay.
that's it for now.
Okay, good. I think for them it's no cost. They're just sharing data. They're not paying anything. They're just gonna, yeah. So once they approve it, it will be a nice other platform we can use. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Good, good, good. Yeah, it was great to have Haesung come to Singapore and have her present her work. And also the darts and the what is the other, the dream study.
BAC. Oh, the dream study was, yeah. I got more excited about that. I was like telling everybody why I'm doing this transplant thing, and then I always like introduce the dream trial first, and then I talked about my poster.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to see audience from all around the world, right? And we were there at the March trial, right? It's a historical moment, you know? I think that was the highlight of the World Lung Conference, that we do extra pleural decortication and all these morbid uh, uh, studies for advanced mesothelioma. And the UK surgeons did a trial that, compared to chemo alone, adding that aggressive surgery did not make people live longer. The quality of life sucks. And they were just humble enough to acknowledge that we're not helping patients at all. And everyone was like, you know, just yeah, showing them our support and respect for their hard work. Although centers like Harvard were like, well, this was not the high volume center, and
Yeah, on Twitter, there's a massive debate around Mars. Yeah, a lot of surgeons got offended.
yeah,
Because in the end, like the OS and PFS weren't different. It was just a correlation, right? Like it like increased the risk of death, but not necessarily no changes in the Kaplan-Meier curves.
right. So I think this is the best evidence we have. I don't think Harvard, Northwestern will participate in randomization, because they all believe that our center is high volume center and we do a better job than they do. And they don't want to randomize patient to surgery or no patient, because people come to a center expecting surgery. Okay. We can't tell them to be randomized. We're not UK. But you know, the UK surgeon, like, we are the expert surgeons, high volume centers in UK. We only let those centers participate in our study. So you just have to believe the data. but it's humbling to see how we make progress. That's how what we Halsted breast cancer surgery, and then we took out all the pectoral major muscle. We believe that more removal of the adjacent tissue would be beneficial for patient. Now we're doing lumpectomy and radiation, and like the breast is preserved. And we show that the survival is same. So unless you show the data, the randomized data, no one will believe. The surgeon who does the aggressive surgery will continue to proclaim my surgery is the most perfect one. And it's all anecdotal, and you will never have to I mean, it's like you will be always biased in what you do. Unless you do randomization, you don't know the data. Women's Health Study did the same thing. We thought we were helping patients by giving hormones. And then when the randomization study happened, they're like, oh no, we're doing actually harm. The people are getting more heart disease and all that by giving hormones after menopause. So
Oh, is that the one that determined like the 5-year duration?
no, that's for the breast cancer, but I'm
HRT?
talking about the Women's Health Study, which is, when I was in medical school, we were telling people to take, estrogen, progesterone, the combination pills, for people undergoing menopause. And we thought that would help prevent heart disease, in addition to menopausal symptoms. But the study showed that it's detrimental, that it causes more gynecologic cancers and more heart disease. So we don't recommend that anymore. There's like people believe antioxidant is good. So vitamin E, tocopherol, is a great antioxidant. So people gave vitamin E to I think to prevent lung cancer or something, like in the high risk group. They randomized, and they found that people who took vitamin E got more lung cancer. So it's not always what what the preclinical science shows. So unless you randomize, you don't know what kind of bias people will have unless you get rid of the effect of the bias by doing randomization. You never know the truth. Epidemiology study, preclinical studies will not tell you what's going to happen in real human. So one randomization that is not the true if you have two randomization study in two different population, that the closest truth you can get to. If you have one, like several observation studies, no, that's not the truth. So that's how randomization can change the whole practice. But I think based on the March 2 study, people will avoid those surgeries more and more. Except for Harvard and Northwestern, maybe. We have proud surgeons, you know. We only believe data coming from high volume centers like us,
Like
Anyway, it was a great lesson. Okay, let's take 10-minute break, and then we'll get back to the other members, okay? All right. Okay, I'm back. Okay, Liam, are you available? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, first of all, give me updates on what you've been doing with Seong and Chaha.
Yes, so we've been doing a lot of things. So they joined us last week, and since they've joined, we've given them a run through of the current projects we have in the lab. And so to be more specific, Dr. O, she's her primary assignment was with the heterogeneity projects, but then we're still waiting on the data to come in from our company. So we're not actively doing anything with those projects as of right now. So that's just kind of on wait right now. And so Dr. O has been working on the screening of the neoadjuvant patients, the secondary screening. So from the EDW, we received a patient list of about 30,000 patients. And over the summer, Grace, Jessica, and Will have been doing a primary screening of just identifying patients who've received immunotherapy since 2018. And so Jessica is now finished with her summer internship. They started school this week. Jessica is going to be involved with us just to finish the projects that she's involved with. So they will be coming in whenever they can throughout the semester to give us updates. And Jessica and Grace, the screening list that they have, I've had them share with Dr. O, and so she has started the secondary screening process. And the secondary screening process entails subcategorizing those patients into 4 groups: neoadjuvant, adjuvant, palliative, and combo therapy. So she's been working on that right now. So she has the 2 lists from Jessica and Grace, and Haeyoung will be working on the list that Will is working on. And so I think Dr. O has a primary list of about 600 patients that she is going to subcategorize into those 4 groups. So she's been working on that since last week. She's getting familiar with the data set and kind of with how Epic is set up with Northwestern. And it's a lot of data because we realized it'll just be easier if we collect all the clinical variables as we do the secondary screening anyways. So she's been collecting all the data as we did according to the radiomics data set. So all the genomic markers, all the index treatment dates, all the CT scan dates. So once and it's gonna take a really long time, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have to collect all the DICOM files for these patients. We're gonna have to do the RECIST calculations all over again, and then it'll kind of feed back into our entire lab cycle, and we'll be able to kind of expand our data set for all of the projects we have going on currently. So that's what she's been doing. Haeyoung has been working on primarily the radiomics project for now. So she's kind of the person in charge during the gap when Monica is away. And so she's been looking at the DICOM files and the segmentation files that we have. And her primary goal with the radiomics project is to hopefully finish a second set of segmentations while she's here. And then also help us coordinate kind of the processing of the initial projects that Dr. Chian is finishing off with Dr. Yuri. So we'll have her kind of be the point person to reach out to Dr. Yuri and to help facilitate that. And yes, and then also we are in the process of sending and updating. So we are still waiting for the 80 new patient DICOM files. They've got back to us last week requesting us to send them that list in a specific format that they can feed directly into their software. So she's gonna help us work on that. And then once that's sent over, I expect them to send us the DICOM files relatively quickly, maybe within a week or two. So with that, we can have her do those segmentations, so we can actually expand our initial set of segmentations to the full 204 patients, as opposed to the 127 that we have right now. And yeah, we're just trying to figure out the final data set. We're having a little difficulty identifying where like the final version of everything is. So she's been helping us kind of figure that out. And this is for like Picture Health and Image Trials and for other companies. Yeah, and then her secondary task will be to do the neoadjuvant screening list that will be providing her.
So how far along are we with the primary screening?
Will, how far did you guys get? I think.
Yeah. So for me, I've done until like 3,500. I'm at 3,600 mark. But the list is, you still have like 20,000 patients left to do. It's a lot of work, not gonna like, to be honest. But we are kind of like distributing the whole Excel sheet in 3 people. I mean, like all the undergrads are working on it. But currently, yeah, I'm on the 3,500 mark. I'm pretty sure Jessica and Grace are somewhere around like 2,000, like 2,000 mark. Yeah.
So the difference was because Jessica was coming in, like kind of part-time throughout the summer because she had like her work schedules and stuff. And so Will's the one that made the most progress in terms of the primary screening. And so obviously Jessica is no longer able to screen, and Grace will continue to do so, but she'll be coming in once a week, so their pace is gonna dial down a lot. So but yeah, still Dr. O has like a list of 600 patients she needs to subcategorize, and I think Seong received, was it like 500 patient list? That's only going to grow as Will continues the screening process.
Yeah. So for you guys, we looked into many different ways to screen patient, and there's no, it's not there's no it's still a patient chart that we have to go through, and yeah, I don't know any other better ways to do this, to find, because unless you read the chart, it's hard to know whether they got neoadjuvant, adjuvant, concurrent. It's hard to know. It's not like you can extract them with like a keyword. So you just have to screen them. And I guess stage 4 is easy, but now the emphasis is we're moving towards a lot of neoadjuvant, and we're curing many cancer patients because we're doing combination chemo and immunotherapy. And of course there are side effects, but there's more opportunity to learn because we have post neoadjuvant samples which are surgically resected, and we can learn a lot from those samples. So it's a great model, but it all starts with best patient selection. And this is all clinical study that if you make an error in patient selection, there, you have bad sample, bad data, you'll never get closer to the truth. So, I think, you could, you've heard from maybe Taegu and Alan, they were more like, helping with whatever was done and helping with the writing process or doing the final analysis with the data that's already been collected. So you can work on the back end, but this is like working on the front end. Let's collect the data, and finding the right subset of patient. And I think you can ask Liam and also Dr. Hesong, what that really means. And but I feel like, laying a good foundation is always a good start. And the fact that we're not dealing with the laboratory experiment data, but these are real patient data, their survival and what they actually received in clinic and all that, it's going to give you a different perspective. They were once a living patient, and a lot of them expired now. And from their trajectory of their treatment journey, we want to learn as much as possible. So it's a humbling work. So I don't want you to just think of this as a, like a manual labor, but it is a legitimate research. And from this, you'll learn a lot. But continue to read about the science behind it. How does the genomics, proteomics, or pathomics, or phenomics, which is just the, male and female BMI, how does that affect our immunotherapy response? There's great review papers out there. We've done or maybe even like a muscle mass, sarcopenia. What are the factors that really affect our treatment outcome or the toxicity? So read about the recent papers, the review, watch our lab meeting, journal club, and all that will help you broaden your perspective. And as you collect more data, try to generate your own ideas. And once we build a nice database, we can ask any questions. So be ready for that exciting time. And let's say, oh, is a genomic heterogeneity a predictor of response? Maybe. And what is the best way to analyze it? Then it's time to learn new statistical skill sets. So it's the research is more like, oh, I don't know how to do research. No. It's anyone can start doing research, and as they are assigned with special tasks, then that's the time for you to learn new skill set. It's not like you have the skill set and now I need the data. No, it all starts with the data. It all starts with a clinical question. So your clinical question is, number one, can we personalize cancer therapy? That's the number one question, because I don't want to give one size fits all therapy to everyone, because they'll suffer from side effects. Some people won't respond. The number two, is there a biomarker that predict response to certain therapies? And what is that biomarker? Is it a protein? Is it a genome? Is it a combination of those markers? Those are all good questions. And then what are we trying to predict? Is it a response? Is it a survival? Or is it toxicity? And how do we measure all those outcomes? What is RECIST criteria? What is toxicity grading system? Grade 1, 2, 3, 4. How do we measure that? These are all good clinical questions. These are the questions that you should have answered to by the time you graduate from our lab. And how do you look at the association? What statistics do you need? So think of all these good questions, and Liam and Haesung will help you find good articles to read, direct you to the relevant research papers that our lab has produced. So you continue to read, continue to gain more knowledge about the field as you do hands-on work. Okay. All right. So just want to hear from all three of you before I get to Liam. So Will, tell me what you actually been doing on your end.
Yeah, so first and foremost, yesterday I started creating a compiled slide for Dr.
Dr. Barat.
Barat.
Dr. Barat
Yes.
had the Grand Rounds presentation at Johns Hopkins, and he's asked us to put together a slide deck for a 1-hour Grand Rounds
Dr.
talk.
who?
Dr. Barat.
Barat. Do you have a slide?
No, so we just started working on it, but it's we're basically summarizing the 3 double lung transplant papers that we are publishing or published.
Oh, okay.
So I'm reviewing the papers. And second, I'm on the the phase of giving final touch on the first draft for the lab manual of cohort B, and the corresponding companies, biomarker companies. And then EDW is running as a background task as always.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, once you make those slides, yeah, show it to me so that I can review it too. But you don't need my approval. You can send it to Dr. Barat and he can revise it but yeah, it will be good to have Albert Curie, Tanez. What I would do, I mean, so this is, you don't have to do this for Barat, but do this for me. And this one, you don't have any deadline. You can do it in next couple weeks. For a patient, so we did 7 lung transplant. So let's make a CT scan of the 7 patients before and after. You can do a screenshot of the PACS before and after. Maybe put the before on the left side, right side after on the right side, and have the left side show the lung with the most disease. And we can put the 7 different before and after figures for presentations. Yeah. Yeah, and Dr. Jian made nice figures in the paper, and you can all use that for the PowerPoint presentation. So Liam, where are we? Did all 7 patients get new lungs?
Yes.
Okay. They're all doing well, right?
Yes.
Okay. And who are actively on the list now? Waiting.
I'll have to check the list. We have a handful of patients who are on the who's going through the workup and who's on the waiting list.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Wright, I'm planning to go see him. He's gotten off the list.
Mhm.
I think he's in kidney failure or something. And he's deconditioned. That's what I get. So I'm planning to go to see him today. So maybe Taeyong and Jaha can follow me because you guys haven't seen inpatient side yet. So but he is a great candidate, but he just is not doing well now. So he's off the list. It's still on ECMO.
Can I know the MRN of the patient so that I can review first?
Yeah,
Search him.
yeah. So Liam, why don't I mean give Doc Seyoung and Jaha. Give me the MRN too, so that I
Sure.
send it to us. Okay. So my fellow Dr. Tarek, I told him to work on the case series for the first 10 patients, but he could work with the first 7.
Okay.
But has he reached out to you or no?
Yes, we were getting him like IRB approval so we can add him to our IRB.
Uh-huh.
That's ready now, so he should have access.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure he knows who those 7 patients are and give him all our prior publication so that he can read them and update himself on this topic. And then he can start writing the 7 patient case report, case series for and CC me. Just give him all the information he needs to start writing. And can you follow up with Dr. Eugene? Because I know the case report is still not published, so we need to know where it is.
Mhm. I know she is I think it's being transferred to the next journal. I'll follow up.
Okay. Yeah, takes too long. Okay. Okay, great job, Will. Dr. O, just want to hear from your perspective what you've been doing and what you want to do and all that.
So when I try to collect data for the first time from the first screening data, I was a little bit confused to collect data. So it was hard to classify patients with category or only category of neo-adjuvant, adjuvant, combi, and palliative. So I discussed with Liam, and he provides me the data collection template. And yeah. But still, the template didn't have the column of putting data of whether it is neo-adjuvant, adjuvant, combi, or palliative.
So you have to make
I would, yeah.
You have to make
okay.
a column and put it in, yeah. And then I guess in the treatment drug section, like what was the adjuvant regimen, neoadjuvant regimen, right? What was the concurrent regimen, which is usually the carbotaxol followed by durva. their value map. So first familiarize yourself with the NCCN, nccn.org, and know ins and outs of lung cancer regimen. Like what are the drugs that are given, approved in this setting? Then you'll be familiar with how patients are getting treated and in what context.
Yes, so and I also look up NCCN when I did the job, and I was also a little bit confused whether the treatment regimen was given for palliative or systemic consolidation therapy. When I followed the algorithm from NCCN, it was consolidation systemic therapy, but there was no index of consolidation therapy in our research.
So what do you mean by consolidation?
So the so where chemotherapy can be given as purpose of treatment, not only for palliative. So systemic therapy, but NCCN didn't say it is palliative. It says systemic therapy.
So let me give you an overview for everyone here. Stage 1, 2, and resectable 3, or amendable for, so let's say curative intent, stage 1 to 3. Stage 3 can be unresectable or cannot be treated with radiation. Those will be treated the same way as stage 4. So some stage 3 and all stage 4 patients are going to be all treated, everybody will be treated with palliative intent. Palliative intent means increasing survival. Okay, we're going to make them live longer, but we cannot cure them. We can make them live longer by 1 year or by 10 years, who knows? But that's our goal. Curative is we want to get rid of cancer, period. Now, 2 different intent. Now, within non-palliative setting, some people are eligible for neoadjuvant therapy. So they get that, and then they can get surgery. And some people can still get some more systemic therapy, and that's called adjuvant therapy. Some people cannot get surgery, so they get concurrent chemo and radiation, a lot of them. If they're too frail, they can get just radiation, still with curative intent. And they can get radiation later. It's called adjuvant radiation or postoperative radiation or PORT. And then they can get adjuvant therapy, like adjuvant 1 year of immunotherapy. Breast cancer patients get adjuvant hormonal therapy, but we're not looking at breast cancer. We're looking at lung cancer. So we only care about, there's adjuvant chemo, 4 cycles, followed by adjuvant immunotherapy, 1 year. So you can still get that despite the fact the patient received neoadjuvant therapy. So it's flexible. Some people call adjuvant therapy consolidation therapy. Some people use it interchangeably. But when we say the word consolidation, we mean it. We consolidate and stop. Whereas in palliative care setting, we use certain therapies until disease progression. Theoretically, forever. Okay. So in that case, we don't use the word consolidation. So we want concurrent chemoradiation followed by 1 year of immunotherapy as a distinctive group. So they're not palliative, they're not surgical. So they're in between group. So we want to find that group. So concurrent chemoradiation followed by 1 year of adjuvant immunotherapy. Some people call this consolidation immunotherapy. And then we want another group, neoadjuvant therapy followed by surgery. Okay, and then we want another group to be surgery followed by adjuvant immunotherapy, or some people call it consolidation immunotherapy. And then our last group is called palliative intent treated groups. Okay, yeah. So these are the 4 groups. And with all that said, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, now I'm more clear idea of definition.
Okay.
How to put it in category.
Okay. And all these 4 groups have different prognosis. That's why you cannot combine all of them and do a biomarker study, because they are very different in prognosis. Okay, you cannot just lump them together. Do you understand? So understanding what groups are similar in prognosis is very, very important. Okay. Any other comments or questions, Dr. O? No?
No, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, last week I just more socialized with people in
Good.
the lab.
That's good. You need to get to know people. All right. Seong, tell me what you did, what you learned, and what you want to do.
First of all, I'm very grateful to be in this lab, to be experiencing research, and not yet, but to follow after the clinical settings and to experience US situations of medical field. And for 8 weeks, I'm just looking forward to just to participate what's given in my table, to do my best to keep things going. And in my perspective, I would love to have more experience to understand how the US situation is different from Korea. That would, since I'm a 4th grade medical school student, that would help me integrate my thoughts into my visions or my next step after graduation. So that's what I'm looking for. And for now, I'm happy that I get to do radiomics with Dr. Jian, which she's a professor of my home university. And also I am very interested in doing AI predictions. I am actually a member of a kind of like a AI club back in Gyeongbuk Medical University. So this is a concept that I am a little bit familiar with. So I'm happy to do this. And for about a week for now, on the background, I've been reading journals that was given to me by Dr. Jian and also Liam. I received about 23 journals and I've read 5, so I'm making progress. And for the main project, the radiomics, I started, as Dr. Liam said, I started my set of segmentating the 127 DICOM files that we already have. And I've used Peter's guide video to learn myself. And I was trying to get the final set as a guideline that I could refer to. But on that progress, I got to realize that the final 127 file, the complete set, was kind of partially lost on our OneDrive. So I've been talking with Dr. Jian, Peter, Monica, and Liam through Facebook, and whatever things, channels that I have to get a good picture of what is going on. And we are on still progress of what is happening. And for now, first step, we seemingly found that a complete set is lost. So we came up with a backup, which seemingly to be the final files. So I've been going through from the first file to until I've made progress to 62. And I've checked if it is actually the final files. And for now, I have found 17 major problems that doesn't match the Excel files and 7 more in minor. And I've been tracking it on an Excel file so it could be shared with everyone. But regarding this problem, I've been talking with Dr. Liam, and we are trying to hunt down what's the problem and how big this problem is. So as we were talking to Dr. Jian, she told us that since we shared the final files with the other companies, which are Picture Health and Picture Health, Image Trail, yeah, and Lunit. So there is an option that we could get our final set back from them. So we were trying to call Nate with Dr. Liam, and I are trying to call Nate and see what's going on and maybe retrieve the final files back. And we're also we have, as we were tracking down the files, we have also found that there are some number of files that aren't matching regarding what files were sent to Picture Health or Lunit. So we're trying to figure that out with Nate too. That is what's been going on regarding the final segmentation files that was lost, and we're trying to recover it. And yes.
Summary of what's going on is all of our data set was on Dr. Chian's OneDrive, the Northwestern OneDrive. And once she left, we don't have access to that OneDrive anymore. So I was able to make a backup copy on my OneDrive, so I have the backup version. So that's kind of where the problem's stemming from, the fact that we don't have Dr. access to her drive anymore, and that was our primary data set. So we were able to restore the backup version that I have, and we're just in the process of confirming that that is indeed the very final data set with all the segmentations, because we've made a lot of adjustments and edits along the way.
I see.
So we're just trying to re-identify and make sure we do have indeed the final data set that Dr. Yuri is working on.
Why can't Dr. Yuri just share it with you, Liam, and then you get whatever?
Yeah, so Dr. Yuri's folder is fine.
Because he can make it shareable to you, and you can use to have it.
Yeah, so we have all of the files and folders from Dr. Yuri. But Dr. Yuri, most likely he's just using the Excel sheet to run his analysis, because all he needs is the Excel sheet with all the segmentation radiomics features. So that's just a string of numbers and data. So once we finish the segmentations, we extract the radiomics features from each patient, and we compile that into one Excel sheet. So it's an Excel sheet with 130 patients with all the radiomic features, variables, and data points that we extracted. So he's probably just using that very large Excel sheet for his analysis. And that Excel sheet we do have, but we actually need the final segmentation files themselves, like the DICOM files and the segmentations, so that we can send it to the other radiomics companies.
Okay, do you think it's fixable?
I think so. So we just need to, we've kind of chased it down on our end, like all the loose ends on our side. and we just need to kind of corroborate that with the data that we sent to Picture Health and Lunin. So once we check on all those files, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of where we are and what we have. But the promising thing is that we have a complete data set. So we just need to we just need to make sure we don't leave any stone unturned. That's kind of what we're doing. So we're gonna contact Picture Health, and we're just gonna double check on the DATCOM files and the segmentations we shared with Lunit as well.
Got it. Okay, good. All right. Anything else? Taeyong?
Yeah, so that's what's been going on for now. And in addition to that, I did segment the patient from L1 to L7 as a second set. And for now, I'm working on the intake form that needs to be done to achieve the 80 new patients DICOM file. So that's on my table for now. And if this gets in a little bit settled, I am planning to start the ADW list that Will has shared with me.
Okay. Good. I guess while Taeyong and Chahai is here, it'd be good if they can maybe jointly do one like pacemaker interview. Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, I think that would be a good idea. They have been following us to the interviews that we've been doing over the summer. So just a brief update on pacemakers. We've done several interviews over the summer. So we did Keith Safran, we did Keith Safran's wife, and we have one from Matthew, Dr. Matthew. He's a dentist in Denver from GMA. And then we also did Kwanyera 선생님. And we are going to have a follow-up interview with Keith tomorrow. He had some more things he wanted to say on recording, so he's requested a follow-up interview. So we're going to do that with Will. And then they've actually suggested a very nice thought. They actually want to do a couples interview, so both of them together at the same time.
Like it, yeah.
And they have so many good stories, and they have such a good personality, and they gel so well together.
Wow.
So they wanted to kind of get that interaction on tape, and both of them have explained explicitly shared their interest in doing something together because they bounce well off of each other so much. And so I think that'll be able to bring out an entirely different dynamic that's really interesting to see. So we're in the process of scheduling for that.
In the case, why don't we, because they're so eager, they're like, we want to be the ambassador, we're already writing our book.
Yes.
Right? I've never seen anyone so enthusiastic. So remember when we had our 2-patient celebration interview, Tanaz?
The press release?
Yeah. Remember the North NM media staff that we were in contact with?
Yes.
How about reach out to that person and suggest interview with a couple, just explain that they've been very enthusiastic about they want to be the ambassador for our dream program, and they interviewed for our pacemakers already, and they are more than happy to be on any media platform to advertise our program and their story, share their stories. So let's start with NM and let her know that they're willing to have interview. So CC me and Bharat and just suggest that to that person, and hopefully they'll make a nice NM video for them as well.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that as let's first finish our project. I don't want to bombard them. Let's finish our pacemaker recording, and then let's just send out that NM email and see what they got. Yeah.
Sure. Sounds good. So Okay, yeah, I think we can bring it up to him when we meet him tomorrow, and then so just an NM video, right? Not like a press release.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, or just like a story video, like yeah. It's like 7th patient, like maybe I don't know. We can maybe do the 10th patient, and but it's like, we're not, because there's 7th and 9th, and what's different, like 10th patient, right? So we're
Yeah.
just celebrating numbers, but
I think it's more about the story that they can share.
yeah, that's why, yeah, it's more their story. They're from Kentucky, right?
Yes, but
And they're living here for one more year, right? Something like that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they've completely moved to Chicago,
Mm.
first for the double lung transplant.
Mm.
Who knows where they plan to go after the year, but as of
Right.
right now, they're fully based in Chicago. They sold their house, they completely moved here, so
Oh, really? Okay.
this is their house.
And I heard a wife is a writer.
Yeah, so she has a doctorate in something, I forget. It was either like counseling or education.
Okay.
She's like a professor somewhere, and yeah, so she's very eloquent, and she writes a lot.
Hmm. Okay. And then who are we planning to interview?
So next, we're still trying to get a hold of like Pedro and Sarah for their interviews, and then we have William Bay
Right.
and
Oh, Jennifer Choi.
yes,
She said yes, but she's also very busy, but she's a good one. She has really touching stories that she could share with us. She's someone who can do 2 types, like one for pacemaker, one for faith in action.
sure.
She goes to my church. So maybe Seyoung can do Jennifer Choi. 'Cause she's be here for 8 weeks. Maybe, I don't know, Dr. Chaha doesn't have much time. Maybe you can take her to the second Keith interview.
They've actually seen
Both Keith? Okay.
yeah.
But I want them to take lead in like interviewing. So maybe Dr. O, are you interested in Hemonk as a specialty? Not sure.
Yes, I'm interested in, but yeah, still interested in.
Then meeting Dr. William Pei may be good, because he's a Hemonk physician at UIC. So maybe page him and meet with him and do an interview. And if he wants to do an interview in Korean, then you can do it in Korean. If he wants to do it in English, then he can do it in English. Just give him an option. He went to undergrad at Northwestern. So yeah, I think he'll be a good candidate. You can go to UIC to meet him there and have him show the hospital to you. Yeah. So it will be to your advantage to know him and to know what, his experience as working as a fellow here. Yeah. And you can feel free to take any of the lab members with you. Yeah, but let's just have that as a plan. It's better to reach out to those people now because I don't know how busy they are. So might have to be over the weekend. I don't know. I don't know their schedule, but whatever their schedule is, you have to accommodate. but I know they live right just a couple blocks from here, the couple. So, yeah. Okay. All right, Taeyong. And then both, yeah, all of you will still follow me in my lab, in my clinic, and really understand like how clinic is actually the source of inspiration for future research and all that. So yeah, that's very important. Okay. Liam, other updates from you?
Yeah, so I have the two Dart TM proposals. I think that it's probably better to go over with you in person. So I'll bring that to you in the afternoon. Then just a couple of things. So we've also been working on the manuscript with Dr. William Bay and Young Hong.
Yep.
B-cell landscape manuscript. And it is being submitted to iScience. And to submit to iScience, they are we need to designate 3 or suggest 3 reviewers. So we wanted to ask you who you would like us to designate.
Is it mandatory?
Yeah, it's required for submission.
So this is T cell, right?
This is the B cell.
A B cell. So let's add Daniel Shin. And from UCLA. Let's do Ungi Park, Memorial Sloan Kettering. Let's put although this is B cell, you can put Taegon Kim at Vanderbilt. They all like immunology, so.
Okay, so I'll put those 3 reviewers and then go ahead and submit this. Yeah, and then I think that's all. I'll just go over the other stuff for this week. So in person, but this semester we have, well, okay, so Grace, King, and Eileen are going to be doing the research for credit course. Grace will be coming in every Thursday full days, and every Tuesday for full days. And then recently, one of the undergrad students, her name is Amy Cho. Has she reached out to you at all?
Amy Cho? Maybe she did. I don't remember the email.
Okay, so she is also requesting and hoping to do research for credit with here at our lab. So I told her that she would need to just get approval from you, and she says she's open to like do a phone call or have a meeting sometime this week. So asked her for her availability and her phone number. Once I receive it, I'll forward that to you. And-
Just give her my phone number and my email. I don't her. It's not showing up from what's her CH. What is
Yeah,
her
CHO.
CHO? Amy.
Amy Cho.
Uh. Oh, I got that one from you Bean Cho. Maybe she's. I don't have her email, so maybe have her send me email. Maybe to Gmail. Maybe it got lost in the NU.
Yeah, sure. I'll have her.
Yeah, and then just give her my cell phone and have her reach out to me by texting.
Okay,
And
I'll do that.
I'll be able to interview her and see if she's a good fit for our lab.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so who else is coming to our lab for this year? Is it Dr. Uni?
So Dr. Eunhee is coming in November.
Uni
And
in
then-
November. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have Dr. Lee Se-ri coming next week with her son.
Oh. Our son's gonna stay in the lab.
Probably. It's kind of tricky to find somewhere for him to be for just 1 week. So
Okay. So she'll come here for 1 week.
yes, so that was the maximum she can take out due to his the son's schooling. But she'll be coming back for all of the subsequent breaks that she can find, and she wants to continue to participate in research. So I think that's something we can kind of sort out once she's here in person.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, before we wrap up, any questions or comments or anything? So for abstract, I think AACR is the next one, right?
Yes.
And we have. So looking ahead, I feel like. So radiomics, we have 3 abstracts.
So that's
coming
the
out.
prediction, toxicity, and the mixed response, right?
Right. And from heterogeneity, I think Stas and Dr. Hesong can continue to work on the Tempest heterogeneity. Anything we find, we'll be able to. So, I don't know if we can get anything out. So in neoadjuvant setting, if we can, I don't know, by November, if we can get like certain set of neoadjuvant group or adjuvant or concurrent. I have Veristrat. I have, Guardant. I have Tempest for all of those. If we can show whether some signature genomic ITH or Veristrat proteomics, we can show any of those markers related to response, survival, or toxicity. We can submit those new findings. So it doesn't have to be that we finish all the screening, but whatever number of patient we get, it's an abstract. We can do the analysis, and aim for that. If we don't have enough number, we skip it, but that's sort of the plan. And then we have other things, you know, Picture Health find something interesting. And, you know, there's, I mean, I'm hoping like we have all these collaborations on co-host and all these people, labs that got our samples and they're analyzing it, and, you know, whatever we get, we should write it up together. Yeah, and there's mixed response. There's a chip project. I don't know what's happening with chip, Hasong.
Well, I'm not sure what's. I wonder if Liam has that from Garland. It just the DOI just has to be accepted.
So it has to be accepted and then they'll release the data? Is that?
Yeah. That's the only bottleneck.
So who has to approve it? Whose ball is it? Whose court is the ball in? Is it NU or Gardens?
Liam, do you know?
You're talking about the DUA, right?
Yeah. Or yeah, DUA, not DOA.
So I know you submitted it to Patrick Evans. So it should be with the legal department. But then we haven't heard from them.
So just follow up once a week. Where is it? What can we do to move this forward? Just keep track of it. Yeah. Yeah, I was so really hoping to get anything out of the TAP. And what is the other project? TAP.
The Discovery Masonist, we're having a meeting in October. There was also a delay with that as well.
Yeah. That's a lot of delay. Okay. Okay, so let's and Liam, let's just wrap up. You follow up the legal thing for the biomarker study, and I think Dr. Jyoti is getting anxious why this is not happening. So let's push forward. Pacemakers paper, are we almost there?
Yes, so I'm working with Jessica on the final draft. So I reviewed it, and then we ended up having 6,000 word manuscripts, and most of the journals only accept 3,000 or less. So it's like between 2,750 or 3,000. So we're in the process of shrinking it down to like 2,700. And so
what journal are we aiming for?
So there was like the first journal is like a JTOCCN, and they accept qualitative papers, but it's probably a stretch. Their impact factor is like 10. So we'll start there.
JTOCCN?
I forget what it was called. I have to look it up. Might have been something else.
There's a JNCCN or something.
Yeah, it was something like
yeah. Yeah, so this is a more like a sociology paper type. So
yeah, so it's more like survivorship.
Mm-hmm.
So we've emailed them asking if they accept such papers, because most of the journals don't have like a separate category for qualitative research, so it'll just fall under original research. But for like it's definitely not mainstream like type of research and publication, so we're just trying to see which of these places would be interested, you know, where it'll land.
Yeah, so ASCO has a journal called Journal of Oncology Practice, JOP. So ask that journal as well. That's a pretty good journal. So yeah, I'm not familiar with Good Journal, so yeah, look into it and maybe make, you know, top 5 journal and make an order that makes sense and just show it to me and I'll approve and then just submit in that order. So it's one paper, right? So did Dr. Kwon Yera help write it too?
No,
She didn't have time?
she didn't have time, and she also there wasn't much for her to participate with because
Oh,
everything was already written and she wasn't familiar with the data set to begin with. So
okay.
it was kind of hard for her to do anything at this
Okay.
point.
So how did she spend her last week here?
So
Did you guys overlap with her, Dr.?
yeah, they spent one full week together.
Oh, good. So how did she spend her time?
So she was doing a lot of research, and we gave her some research papers that came out of our lab, and we told her about all the projects we're doing. They went to the nursing home in Niles on Wednesday.
Who went there?
Everybody.
Who, like everybody?
Yes, everybody.
Like everybody in the lab?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jessica, Grace, Will, Wojaz, and Seong.
Wow. Nice. What did you guys do there? What did you do?
So we basically had a very thorough tour of the whole building that was like consisted of like 5 floors. I mean, yeah, 4 to be exact, but 5 floors. And then we had a meeting with a hospice like company called
Sanctuary.
yes. We talked with whoever came from that company. We had a very kind of helpful like convo with her. And then after that we were scheduled another meeting at 3, but the person who was supposed to like show up like kind of like canceled the appointment, but rather sent like off the answers to the questions that Dr. Yera sent him. So after we had a meeting with the hospice company, we kind of showed Dr. Jaha and Dr. Seong Sam like a tour of like the Northwestern Evanston campus. And like, you know, the weather was stunning. It was superb. It was one of the best weathers I've ever like seen it like in Chicago. And then yeah, that was pretty much it.
Good. That was 1-day trip to Niles and okay. Good. What else Dr. Yera do then? Other days?
And then I think it was like the next day, she actually was able to get in touch with a nursing professor in Rush University by referral from the nursing home manager. So she went to Rush for half a day, and then she followed us to our interviews with Keith Safran and Keith Safran's wife. Then she was reading a lot of the research papers and just doing her research in the kind of US healthcare system.
Good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was just felt sorry for her because I was only with her for 2 days, but it's good that you guys were there with her and yeah, it was short, but I think think she got, hopefully she got a lot out of it. So, and she's in San Jose now. Okay.
Yes.
Good. All right. So we will wrap up our lab meeting now. And Haesung and Liam, I'll follow up with you in person later. And then today we have meeting with 2 o'clock is Lunit and our path core. Haesung, right? Is this more like logistics?
Oh yeah, it's the logistics for Kiso. For yeah, the last trial. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and everything else is more my personal research meetings. For Taeyong, Chaha, and Will. And it's optional for Haesung because Haesung knows everything now. I'm giving a talk about biodesics, the liquid biopsy and how we use that to help treat lung cancer patient. And also Notify, which is a AI like the prediction model for lung lesion, whether it's malignant or not, like ground glass opacity and things like that. So biodesics does 2 things. Lung cancer biomarker and the lung nodule serum risk prediction. So we're gonna talk about that. So I'm leading a online discussion for biodesics. It starts 5:30 today. And you can just sit next to me in my room and kind of look at the flow of the seminar. So you guys are all invited. Usually I do this in a nice steakhouse. But sometimes it's just all online. So 5:30, you guys are invited. It's not mandatory, but it's a nice opportunity for you to learn proteomics. So okay, and do you know what's our testimony for this Thursday?
Yeah, this Thursday. Oh, I wrote it down. This Thursday is Pastor Hongkwon. Wait, not Pastor Hongkwon 장로님.
Yeah, so he graduated from Seoulde, and he practiced in US as a radiologist, and then he went to Ethiopia to practice as a radiologist. Were you there, Liam? No, maybe you weren't. To meet, did you ever meet him?
Oh, I did.
Yeah. So yeah, I think his story is very inspirational. He's still going to Africa to teach African physicians. And he's also a artist. He's a painter. He is official like painter, and he sells a lot of art pieces at very high price.
I
So
want to see his work.
yeah,
I love painting.
His paintings are amazing. Amazing. Anyway, it will be good to hear his story. We're honored to have him. And I think he's a nice model of like, becoming like a silver missionary. It's like, once you retire, then you go to the third world and serve. So yeah, and he served, I think, for more than 5 years, and he came back to his original workplace. So he's still working as a radiologist. Yeah. Okay, just wanted to let you guys know.
I just want to mention I have this Cook County open house I want to attend tonight. So I don't think I can make it. But if it were at a steakhouse, I would have considered
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
talking about the park.
Oh yeah, and then Dr. Hesong is a panelist for the KAMA meeting. I don't know if you guys it's when is it? Hesong, when is your panel meeting?
Definitely not mandatory, but it's Sunday morning at 9.
Sunday morning at 9.
Yeah, maybe you should better sleep in.
Is it what's the date?
It's Sunday 24th.
24th.
24th, okay. Did you guys register for this meeting or not yet? Well, did you guys, so
I think half of us registered.
okay. Yeah, there's a lot of good. I looked at the whole you should go in and look at all the lectures. They're all good, and they're all given by like very well established Korean Americans.
Yeah, they're like amazing people.
Amazing people.
Yeah,
I don't know
I'm
how
so
they
excited.
recruited all of them, but it's just good to know them. And it's not a big conference like ASCO, so it's a very short and a small meeting, so you can just introduce them who you are, and just the networking is the best part, to get to know them, and sometimes it will just bring you a brand new opportunity for you in the future. So I really strongly suggest you go and meet and talk. I don't know, maybe you'll meet your future spouses. I don't know. It's just a really good place to network, and and find future mentors, and yeah. But go to good lectures too. And obviously, if you want to go during your work hours, you need my permission, okay? But if it's a really good one, it's related to what we are doing, I would definitely want to endorse. I am giving my own lecture in Friday morning, so I encourage all of you to come and attend. It's already everything from our lab meeting, that what we're doing, we're just gonna tell them what we're doing here. But right after my lecture, I am gonna run back to my clinic to see patients. I just blocked that hour to give lecture, but I will come back, because I have a Saturday morning session. It's a mentoring session, I think. Saturday morning, there's a mentoring session or something. So I'm coming for that breakfast meeting. So yeah, Saturday, Sunday, you guys can attend like the full meeting and learn as much as you can. They talk about AI and a lot of healthcare issues, and so it should all be good. And it's usually not in Chicago, so it's a blessing that it's being held in Chicago this year. Okay, so yeah, spread the word, and you can invite any other students or fellow physicians that you know. They don't have to be Koreans, but it's a Korean American meeting, so but most of the speakers I know, they don't speak Korean. They're second generation, and most of them don't speak Korean. Most of the second generation Korean people, they're always embarrassed that they're Korean language ability. So yeah, it's going to be all in English for sure. So okay, so I will wrap up, and yeah, we'll talk more in the afternoon. All right, talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.